Young actors who are predicted to have a great future regularly appear in Hollywood. Some live up to these hopes to the fullest extent, and some gradually disappear from the radar despite a few box office successes. Today we would like to talk about one of these actors, look back at his career, and understand what audiences can expect from Chris Pine in the future. His way in Hollywood. The actor began with roles in various romantic comedies, where he usually played some cute guy who attracted the attention of girls. Since Chris' parents were also actors, with the choice of profession, he was determined at a reasonably young age. And since his appearance of Chris was suitable for the roles of various nice guys too, he quickly drew the attention of theater directors, where he participated in multiple performances. In the very early noughties, he got into a movie. In 2004, Chris landed a supporting role in the film The Princess Diaries 2, after which he starred in many films of this genre. Most of them are not in particular demand, and movies like Blind Dating Do Without a Chance at the box office failed. When in 2006, Just My Luck died at the box office, and the Golden Raspberry flew right next to the actor, Pine decided it was time to give up on such roles and began to sign on for roles without particular emphasis on his appearance. Brutal movies like Smokin' Aces with actors with such a portfolio for the main role did not burn desire, but Pine had no problem agreeing to the second plan, and in smaller projects like Carriers was already in the lead roles. Picture in cinemas released only after the success of Star Trek. And before that, the tape spent 3 years gathering dust on a shelf no one needed. In the end, the studio could earn something from a movie about zombies. Unlike many other actors in Star Trek, Pine got in through an audition. The movie wanted to get in Matt Damon, who contacted director J.J. Abrams and was waiting for him outside his house. But the director still turned him down because Damon was too old. Pine says that he auditioned with 100 other actors and was so excited that he blew the audition and ran out of the auditorium where it was held. But he was fortunate to have a good agent, and J.J. Abrams was not present at the audition. A couple of days later, he talked his agent into contacting the film's casting director again and giving him a second chance. This time Abrams was present at the audition. Pine pulled himself together, and Abrams liked that kind of willpower and took the actor on the project. Although Star Trek is considered a movie with no such main character, Pine's face was flaunted in the center of the posters. And after the double success of the project at the box office and on DVD, his career got the most significant increase in royalties. The next work of the actor after the first Star Trek was Unstoppable, directed by Tony Scott. There was no casting for the actor this time. Along with Pine, Denzel Washington starred in the film. Scott often consulted with him about the actors he would be comfortable working with, and Denzel recommended Chris for the supporting role. Chris did not refuse, but for their participation requested $3 million. The film came out expensive, and the studio pressured the director and actor, by always demanding a budget not exceeding $100 million. So, in the end, Denzel got $16 million instead of the requested $20 million, and Tony Scott agreed to $6 million instead of the standard $9 million. Chris Pine did almost all of his stints without the help of understudies. Unstoppable failed at the box office, grossing $167 million on a budget of $100 million. It became the last film directed by Tony Scott. A year after its premiere, the director committed suicide by jumping off a bridge in suburban Los Angeles. For what reason this happened is still unknown. Pine's career was not affected by the failure of Unstoppable. It is a standard feature of Denzel Washington's failures. All his films are always praised and a little praised by the actors who ran in those movies and Denzel's background. Pine was also noted and praised for his next film, This Means War. He has already received $5 million. The film failed again at the box office, though more manageable. However, it received more modest reviews from the audience, and critics destroyed it, which is surprising. At the test screenings, the picture showed excellent results. The studio decided to put the premiere on Valentine's Day. Later, many will say that this was the reason for the failure. These days, the audience chooses other movies and comedy action movies, albeit with a romantic component, and decides to ignore them at the box office. This Means War earned $156 million on a budget of $65. After the complete failure of the comedy People Like Us Here, Chris had a fee of $4.5 million, which for a total budget picture $16 million looks very strange. In 2013, Chris had two big movies out at once. Star Trek Into Darkness was worse than the first one, but overall brought the studio a lot of money. Something went wrong with Jack Ryan, shadow recruit, and this failure likely prevented Chris Pine from becoming a superstar. Jack Ryan began playing Alec Baldwin. Then in two films, he was Harrison Ford, and in the early noughties, the franchise tried to restart with Ben Affleck. The film failed to live up to expectations, and the series was forgotten for 11 years. And now the new shadow recruit was supposed to bring Jack Ryan back to the big screens, and Pine to get another successful franchise on his resume. But the film performed poorly at the box office, grossing $135 million on a budget of $60 million. All plans for a sequel were immediately canceled. All questions about the likelihood of a sequel were denied by Chris personally, who said in an interview that he would no longer star in the franchise. After 2013, Pine began to play many supporting roles in big movies. A relatively successful year was 2014. The result of the fantasy Into the Woods surprised a few, considering the gorgeous cast, and his appearance in the second part of Horrible Bosses ended with a small success at the box office. In 2016, Chris had an excellent opportunity to regain his star status. 3 movies were released on the big screens at once in which he had one of the leading roles, but only a small project called Hell or High Water was a success that he might not have gotten into. Chris was busy shooting the movie Star Trek Beyond, and his services were already wanted to give up because there was no time to wait. But the actor wanted to star in the film so badly that he was able to talk the producers of Star Trek into scheduling him to be available for a couple of weeks in the middle of filming. He was only out for 2 weeks, so all the scenes with his character had to be filmed quickly. Star Trek Beyond performed even worse at the box office than the second installment, and the series was frozen until better times. But the biggest flop of the year for Chris was The Finest Hours. Usually, every year, the studio has some film that everyone predicts is a box office fiasco, and in 2016 it was the 80 millionth The Finest Hours, which grossed a ridiculous $50 million at the box office. After that, Pine had already definitively left for supporting roles, and the former royalties the actor no longer had. In 2017, a miracle with Wonder Woman happened to him. Then everyone believed that after the success, the actor would have a second wind and be able to restart his career. But in 2018, he starred again in a Disney studio film. That film was the smash hit A Wrinkle in Time, which failed at the worldwide box office. If you don't count the sequel Wonder Woman, which also wholly failed at the box office but became a great hit. Chris Pine can mostly be found somewhere on streaming platforms. In late 2018, he appeared on Netflix in the film Outlocking. The budget for this project is $120 million. It's hard to believe that you can spend $120 million and get a movie like this in the end, but Netflix spared no money, and the actor may have received one of the biggest fees of his career. In 2019, he appeared in the series I Am the Night. Any project success is hard to talk about, and judging by the audience assessment, everything is not so great for him. However, the actor has not yet gone to B-movies, and soon he has a couple of expensive projects, one of which is Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. The official production budget of the film is still unknown, but by all rumors, the movie will be significantly more expensive than the previous attempt in 2000. The budget then was $45 million, which is about $70 million these days. And one of the last films the actor released was The Contractor. The film with Chris Pine in the title role, with a budget of $50 million, was able to collect a little over $2 million at the worldwide box office. This, of course, is a resounding failure, and in general, the next few films should be a defining actor's career. And if the new part of Star Trek and Dungeons & Dragons fails at the box office, we may see the actor somewhere in an action movie with Eric Roberts in a few years.